As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw my nephew Fong Yuan making trouble for pocket money. He was lying on the ground rolling around, shouting, I want it, give it to me quickly. Looking at Fong Yuan who was messing around, my brother and sister-in-law looked at me for help. I smiled and knelt down, touched Fong Yuan's head, and then looked at my brother and sister-in-law angrily. The child is still young, and it's normal for him to be greedy. Anyway, you only have a son, so let him spend it. Brother and sister-in-law and Fong Yuan obviously didn't expect that I, who usually has the most strict control over children, would say this. According to my usual habits, I would grab Fong Yuan education, and he would try his best to prevent his brother and sister-in-law from giving him money. Even so, in the end, my brother would still choose to give some money to Fong Yuan. But soon, Fong Yuan reacted. He stood up and grabbed the corner of my clothes, and looked at his parents arrogantly like he was hugging me on the thigh. Did you hear that? My aunt agreed. What else do you dare to say? Why don't you give it to me now? My money. I looked at the two people who were hesitating with a smile, and took the lead to hand Fong Yuan a piece of 50 yuan. Brother Fong Cheng had no choice but to take out the money and give it to Fong Yuan. Seeing Fong Yuan happily going out with money, my sister-in-law Zhou Mei looked at me complaining, Sister-in-law, you are usually the most reluctant to let Yuan go out with money, why are you so talkative today? She sighed, feeling sorry for what she had taken out. That 50 yuan is enough money to buy food for a day. Sister-in-law, it's rare for a child to want to go out to play, and this little money is fine. Think about it, if Yuan goes out to play with friends but has no money, what will his friends think of him? I patted Zhou Mei on the shoulder as if reassuring, and moved. The topic was, I remember my sister-in-law is going to make a big dish today to celebrate her promotion. Do you need me to help in the kitchen? Then my sister-in-law remembered this, clapped her thigh and took my hand. If necessary, let's go into the kitchen. Fong Cheng is a typical male chauvinist. He talks about his sister-in-law's hard work, but he is not even willing to help pick vegetables. From the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of Fong Cheng sitting on the sofa watching TV, and an imperceptible sneer curled up at the corner of my lips. This time I was so abnormal, it must be because I did it on purpose. Otherwise, when Fong Yuan grows up, I still don't know how you are going to arrange my mistakes with him. The vegetables in my hands slowly fell into the basket, but my mind recalled some memories from my previous life. Fong Yuan was his elder brother's child only when he was 40 years old. Faced with having a son at an old age, the couple naturally doted on their nephew. Other children can let go and walk at the age of 3, but Fong Yuan was still carried by his sister-in-law until he was 5 years old. I often suggest that they give their children some room to grow, but Fong Cheng always thinks that this is a sign of not doting on my nephew. My brother and I have a fairly close relationship. As the only person in my family who has been admitted to a prestigious university, my brother naturally hopes that I will take more care of Fong Yuan so that my precious son can also go to a good school. By the time Fong Yuan was in elementary school, he barely had the ability to take care of himself. He still needed his sister-in-law to come in and wipe his butt after going to the toilet. Every time Fong Yuan came home, he would get angry and point at his parents' noses and curse, "It's all your fault for letting me go to school." I was bullied by my classmates. They gave me nicknames and called me a stinky kid. He started throwing things at home. At this time, his brother and sister-in-law would always chase after him to comfort him. Because of this incident, my brother even reported it to the school's head teacher, scolding the school for being unworthy of educating people and saying that no one could take good care of his son, but he never thought that it was Fong Yuan's own problem. I couldn't hold it back and said to my brother, I have asked his class teacher a long time ago. If Fong Yuan hadn't hit people randomly in school and ordered people to do things when he went to the toilet, he wouldn't have been given nicknames. I tried my best to persuade them to pay attention to the cultivation of Fong Yuan's independent ability, but they blamed me for being partial. It was everyone else's fault. Our family, Yuan, is a good child. You see, as Yuan's biological aunt, why are you still speaking for outsiders? After hearing these words, I knew that my brother and sister-in-law would not listen. I have no choice but to make that black face myself. After my strong intervention, Fong Yuan was finally able to become independent on her own, but a new problem appeared: she loved to spend money. Fong Yuan had to ask her brother for a large sum of money almost every day, and she had to keep it until she grew up. The brother and sister-in-law are also willing to support their only son. Seeing the two of them working hard to support Fong Yuan, I once again advised them to wait until Fong Yuan gets into the bad habit of gambling. My brother and sister-in-law were unwilling to give me any more money, but the reason was that it was me, Yuan, it was your aunt who didn't let us give you money. When I became addicted to drugs, Fong Yuan was ruthless and abducted me to prevent me from being addicted to drugs. Sold for money. When I was placed on the operating table, my brother called me. I hurriedly started to struggle and used all my strength to ask him for help. Brother, Fong Yuan is cruel to me, come and save me. Fong Chang was shocked, but after consideration, he decided to choose his son. The father and son listened to my screams as my body was cut open, and they discussed how to cover up my death. Finally, after Fong Yuan returned to China with the money, his family inherited my property and shamelessly spoke ill of me to their neighbors. My dead soul watched as the organs in my body were removed one by one and the prices were clearly marked. I only felt chilled. For the sake of this family, I did not choose to start a family and treat Fong Yuan as my own son. It's pitiful that I care about him, but he thinks I'm harming him. I'm such a white-eyed wolf. As soon as I took out the dishes from the kitchen, I saw Fong Yuan sitting next to Fong Chang. The two father and son were watching TV idly like they were copying and pasting, with no intention of helping me. I snorted and slammed the plate on the table. The loud noise made the two of them look at me. My brother frowned with an unhappy expression. Fong, what are you doing? What are you going to do if you throw the bowl so hard? What if it breaks? Seeing him confidently asking me, he laughed angrily. You have to know, I'm just a guest today. No, I'm here to be a nanny for your family. I said in a dissatisfied tone, first I'll help you cook, and then I'll help you serve the dishes. If you don't do anything, you won't eat. I looked like I was going to flip the table. My sister-in-law was so frightened that she ran out to stop me, and my brother was also so frightened that he stood up from the sofa. My sister-in-law patted my hand to comfort me, and then took the plate from my hand. It's my sister-in-law who has kept you busy for too long. You sit down and rest first. I'll do whatever you want. I grabbed his hand, just the father and son who were doing nothing, and asked them to do it. You are so tired cooking, you can rest for a while. My sister-in-law blames me for doing housework. Doesn't it have to be done by women? Your brothers are tired from work, so it's normal to take a rest. I looked at this woman who had been brainwashed by those bad habits of men and women and stopped talking. My sister-in-law and I have different views, and there is no way to tell him that housework is not a woman's responsibility. Looking at his sister-in-law busying herself, Fong Yuan sneered and spoke very rudely. Sister-in-law, please leave my mother alone and let her do her job. She said that she wanted to teach me a lesson. Are you serious about reading some books and just thinking about riding on a man's head? Having been educated by Fong Chang a long time ago, what good views can he have? With a cold face, I planned to leave after finishing the meal. Now that I see this white-eyed wolf, I feel like vomiting. My sister-in-law hurriedly stepped forward and grabbed me. He suddenly remembered the blind date he had found for me. Sister-in-law, the young man I introduced to you that time is a very nice person. You should get along with him more. I shook his hand away, thinking about the pimples on my blind date's face, and I became angry. What did that ugly man do to introduce me to it? Do you have any grudge against me? When my sister-in-law saw that I was speaking rudely, Jo Mei was also a little angry. Although the young man is not good-looking, he is still decent. He mainly loves his wife. He was still thinking of saying something nice to me, but I interrupted him directly. My sister-in-law thinks it's okay, just marry yourself. I just felt disgusted when I saw that man. After saying that, I stopped looking at my sister-in-law's blue and purple face and strode away. I really don't know how my sister-in-law can boast so well. In the last life, he also introduced the blind date Su Kai to me just like he does now. I'm a bit of a face control guy, but I don't have a good impression of this man at all. But in the face of my cold eyes, he still looked like a good gentleman. My sister-in-law also often said good things about him. Gradually, I became less repulsive towards Su Kai. Unexpectedly, before we became a couple, Su Kai, who noticed my change in attitude, planned to drag me to the hotel. Faced with my rejection, he tried to force me with drugs. If I hadn't put pepper spray in my bag that day, he would have succeeded. Shocked, I went back to question my sister-in-law, but he pretended to be innocent. My sister-in-law Su Kai also likes you so much that she would do such a thing. Anyway, your innocence is gone, so just marry him. I couldn't believe that he, who was also a woman, would say such things and even persuade the victim to marry the abuser. I couldn't bear it anymore, so I went back directly and chose to call the police, and handed the evidence to the police. The next day, Su Kai was put in front of the police car and started yelling and making pornographic rumors about me. Don't worry, you're just a stinky bitch. I'm willing to fuck you because I think highly of you. How dare you call the police? I angrily retorted to him, you are a rapist. If I hadn't been vigilant, you would have succeeded. You should go to jail for me. People around us were talking a lot about us, and my brother and sister-in-law also looked at me dissatisfied. It is not shameful to speak out about such unjust things. I just felt that the people here sucked, so I came to Shanghai to work and bought a house based on my ability. In my previous life, out of consideration for family ties, I lent this family to live with me. This family should use my money to enrich their lives, which is called for the sake of family affection. The reason why I was killed by Fong Yuan in the end was because of the real estate they gave me. Thinking of this, I just feel unlucky. It happened that Sukai sent me a message at this time, thinking that he cared about me, but I had already recognized this man's face and directly blocked and deleted the one-stop service. As long as Sukai doesn't bother me anymore, I don't care about the past life. I just didn't expect Sukai to be so shameless. Early in the morning, my door was knocked so hard that I suspected that the door would be broken down in the next second. After getting dressed and getting up, he opened the door for me and said in an impatient tone, "Who is it that is haunted? Are you so worried?" A bouquet of roses appeared directly in front of me, scaring me so much that I took a step back. Looking up, I saw Sukai standing at the door holding a rose and smiling very flatteringly. "Don't worry, this rose is given to you as an apology. I don't know why you are angry and blocked me, so I can only come to you early in the morning." The aunt next to her poked her head out and was a little excited when she saw this scene. "Girl Fong, look how nice your boyfriend is to you, and he even buys you flowers to comfort you." When Sukai heard this, he immediately pretended to be aggrieved. Yes, I don't know why Fong Xan was suddenly angry with me, but he was worried about me. When the aunt saw Bagua early in the morning, she laughed so much that she planned to go out to buy groceries. He educated me as if he had come from experience. "Sister, you are not following the custom. As the saying goes, couples quarrel at the head of the bed and at the end of the bed. Please tell me, don't quarrel." Sukai nodded in agreement, already thinking of me as his future wife. I looked coldly at these two people talking to themselves. One was a self-righteous and wretched man, and the other was an aunt who liked to watch the fun. I ignored what they said and just sneered at the aunt. "Does this matter have anything to do with you? You want to stop the gossip between men and women so much, why don't you become husband and wife with him?" The aunt was so choked by my words that she quickly said, "Hey, I'm done with you, little girl." I turned to look at Sukai and asked him, "What identity do you use to tell others about me? Boyfriend? No. Sorry, you are just a blind date." Sukai said matter-of-factly, "Isn't it enough to be a blind date? You will marry me sooner or later." I sneered. "You are so trustworthy. Why don't you see if you are worthy of it? Fuck me?" One is that you don't believe Sukai. You don't have any ink in your stomach, and you still want to find a highly educated wife. You are really a toad who wants to eat swan meat. Sukai was so angry at my call that he yelled at me, "You are just a bitch, but you are still noble. You are already 25 and you don't have a partner yet. Aren't you just a loser that no one wants? It's your blessing that I like you." I didn't pay attention to his rants. I don't care about the eyes of other neighbors either. Just close the door and go back to the room. When I was just looking at my phone, I found out that the company I applied for has been approved. I'll be leaving in a few days. This is no longer harmed by the ignorant thoughts here. I was planning on continuing to take a nap. The phone suddenly rang. I sigh. My sister-in-law's urgent question came from the other end of the line. "Sister-in-law, why did you reject Sukai? Now he has made trouble on my side." The brother next to me also echoed. "Don't set your sights so high. Look how old you are. Not planning to get married yet. Like what?" Listening to the noisy voices on the other side. I'm probably the one who lost face because of Sukai. I can't bear it. Then I remembered that my sister-in-law introduced us to each other. He took his gangster friends to find trouble with them again. A smile appeared on my lips. Although there is currently no way to establish a relationship with them. But this caused them some trouble. Not bad. I answered them in a cold voice. I want to be a senior executive of a big company in Shanghai. Will marry this kind of person. You have the nerve to say it. I will find a good job by myself. Just tell them. Make next steps. Sure enough, they took the bait. Here I got a high-paying job. My brother quickly grabbed the phone. What girl? You found such a good job. After getting my clear answer, he slapped his thigh and laughed. Then Sukai is indeed not worthy of you. This is all our fault. He belittled Sukai. But what's on my mind? I know it without thinking. Really? He went on to say. Waiting for you to become a master. Don't help us. Look how bad your nephew's school is now. Still have to find a good school. Let him go. Yes. He mentioned this. I just think about money when I became a manager of a big company. That's what he said too. So I tried my best to find a good school near the villa I bought. I just didn't expect that Fong Yuan would beat up his classmates on the first day there. I have to work very hard to help them deal with it. After this thing is over, I only got a thank you from my sister-in-law and a word from Fong Yuan. This is what I should do. This family is like a parasite lying on my body. Crazy to seize everything I have. But I thought of a school that would give this family a hard time. I answered with a smile. Brother's words. I happen to know an aristocratic middle school where Yuan can get a good education. I'll help you transfer there after I go to Shanghai. My brother said yes repeatedly. But I quickly told him. That was what I originally planned to do. But you actually questioned me over Sukai. I know this is what I love so much. Brother will definitely be very anxious. Then it is inevitable that they will become enemies with Sukai. Sure enough, my brother hurriedly said. It's all my fault. I just want to talk to that Sukai. Know what Sukai is capable of. I smiled with satisfaction. Although Sukai can't eat well. But my brother will definitely be beaten by Sukai and the others. It's still dark. I'll get on the train to Shanghai. Waiting for my brother to call. I have signed a contract with the company. This company is really good. I applied to be their brand manager. They also recognized my ability. Money means that I also work in this company. Following the last business trip. Gained a lot of useful experience. If it weren't for Fong Yuan beating up his classmates, I may always work in this company. The classmate Fong Yuan beat. I have some qualifications in my family. Parents of classmates clamored to send Fong Yuan to juvenile detention center. I originally didn't want to care. I think it would be better to let Fong Yuan go in and suffer. Let him have a taste of impromptu brother-in-law. But he came to the company and cried loudly, causing my job to be affected. Thinking so, I think waiting until Fong Yuan enters that aristocratic school, brother and sister-in-law will inevitably make trouble like money does. I need to make plans early. As soon as my brother found out that I had joined the company, I quickly planned to follow you. I pretended to be a good person to them and stopped them. There's no place to stay if you come here. The square circle on the other end naturally means that you live there. You're home. You must have a place to live. Right. My tone is awkward. I don't have much money. Only rented a single room. It's not comfortable for you to live there either. So be it. I'll help you find a house to live in. I just need you to pay for it. Used to frugality. My sister-in-law immediately called me. What happened? We still need to pay for it ourselves. Sister-in-law. This is what you asked us to go to. Why do you still need us to give you money? Hear this. I sneer secretly in my heart. At this time, you still want to take advantage of me. I told him in a cold tone. If it weren't for brother, he would like to change Yuan to a better school. I won't help you. Really, I don't care. What happened to Sukai at that time? My sister-in-law was in a bad mood for a while. It's true that he didn't do this well. He only found out a few days ago. Sukai made a girl's belly bigger outside. The girl's parents are making a fuss. Recalling the good things he said in front of me. Unable to avoid blushing with embarrassment. My brother saw that things were going wrong. Hurry up and smooth things over. Why? It's okay. Girl. Just help us find change. We still have it. Telephone. I still look unhappy here. I already laughed out loud in my heart. It's true that Fong Cheng is rich. He has saved a lot of savings in the past few years. But Shanghai is a place where land is at a premium. Rental is not cheap. What's more, we need money from aristocratic schools. As soon as my brother and sister-in-law arrived, they went straight to the house I rented. Watching them touch around my house, I knew they still wanted to live with me. How could they succeed? I smiled and took the three of us downstairs. Pointing to the two-bedroom rental house, he said. This is a good room that I begged the landlord for several days. It would be okay if you watched it. Just sign the contract. My sister-in-law looked at the number on the contract, which was close to 3,800 a month. Why don't you go and grab it? The landlord looked cold. You don't want to. What is needed is that people want this house. A few days ago, someone was planning to rent it out for 5,000 yuan. If you hadn't been careful when talking about your difficulties, I won't rent it to you. As I said that, I wanted to snatch the contract back. But his brother held him tightly.